Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. So you see the title already, and I'll get right to it. Right now, there's controversy around how guilty he was, how guilty he's not, what's been proven and what wasn't, because of what the witnesses said versus what the gunpowder residue quantity said, and why Kelsey got immunity if she didn't do anything, and why she didn't say more to exonerate Mr. Lanez, and why the other witnesses for the defense didn't say more to exonerate Mr. Lanez. And all of these things can be debated and argued about. There's a lesson for this, for us in all of this. Tory Lanez was not taught to make women qualify just to be around him. Let them prove themselves as qualifying for that. Tory Lanez had a father in his life, and his father did not tell this to him, apparently. And that's because his dad was not told this when he was growing up. Whichever part of the diaspora from which his father comes is immaterial to that. We black men were not taught, and if we had dads, we oftentimes weren't taught because our dads did not get this lesson themselves, to make the women also qualify, not just for marriage, not just for, putting a ring on it, but make them qualify for spending time with you, a ring, and for sex. And we like to say that there are some women that are only good as jump offs. They're only good to hit that, and then she good for a smash and dash. Frolic and flee. Nut and go. And I'm telling you, and Crimson Cure said the same thing. You're not going to be allowed to dash. You're not going to be allowed to dump and just keep on going. That's not how that works. Once she agrees to the smash, you don't get to simply dash. Once she agrees to the pump, you don't get to just dump. Once she agrees to the frolic, you don't get to flee. They're not going to allow that. I've explained to you that the only thing that they're really going to always guarantee doing is making sure that sex is surrounded by enough headache. There's literally nothing else that explains everything else they do. And then they make a few exceptions for that too. And even then they try to give those guys headaches, bother them for commitments and things like that. They still try to get these commitments out of those guys. They're just giving them more sex for less headache than what they would normally do for normal guys. The lesson you must learn from this gentleman is to not only say no sexually to women, which many of you like to think you can't do, and that 15-year-old to whom I referred in my last upload from the mouths of teens put us to shame regarding that. You must learn to say no to them for a lot of things. Time alone with you. Forget the draws. Time alone with you, you must learn to say no to them for that. Tory Lanez gave it away too easily. Am I sounding like a lady telling another lady to close her legs? Then you missed the point. Tory Lanez laid with Meg Thee Stallion. He laid with Kelsey. Apparently that's how the two of them got into an argument in the first place. But when the cop showed up, it was going to be put on Tory if he did it or not, even if it was not his gun. Now, when this happened in 2020, the public knowledge of the black gender war was much lower than what it is now. It's still there though. The black gender war is very real. Always has been. But now the public knowledge is rising. Now as we leave 2022 and are coming down to the last week of it, the public knowledge of the black gender war is such that even yesterday as I rode with a Sudanese boss within my company, or a manager within my company, for hours because I had to retrieve something and he had to go visit a friend of his. He asked me about it. Not so much the black gender war, but the gender war. He'd heard about it. And he was asking me for, and one of the things he said is, he asked me for the word feminism in English. And then he asked me, are you for it or are you against it? And I told him I'm definitely against it. I'm also against chauvinism. That's when men oppress women. But that's not what's going on right now in the West. And so therefore, I don't really have to call that out because it's not happening. It's not really possible. Men can't do that anymore. And weren't that keen on doing it a whole lot back when they could. Those men were looked down upon. So this is now known more so and more so and more so. And he told me that he had heard of Sudanese couples that had moved to the UK or to the United States and then they'd broken apart. Families gone. And I told him I know. I saw it happen to one specifically in Atlanta. As a matter of fact, the husband wound up getting into a fight with a Nigerian man because the woman was lying on him to her Moroccan friend, who then told her Nigerian husband that this Sudanese husband was a bad man and he needed to do something if he was a real man and step in. And so the Nigerian got into a fight with the Sudanese, knocked his teeth out. And what's funny is that usually Nigerians and Sudanese get along very well. They don't scrap. And I know because I'm hanging out with both of them at the same time. I was doing it in my last city. And I'm going to do it here in Riyadh, and the next one, which I'm going to go wherever that is going to be when the next project starts. And since northern Nigerians don't have to deal with a gender war like this yet, I'm going to tell the Sudanese, look at the northern Nigerians, and that's how you combat this stuff. But the lesson that Tory Lanez has taught us is that you don't let these ditzy broads even so much as hang around you like that. Don't just say no sexually, but don't only do that. Don't let them be alone with you because they're ditzy and they're impulsive and they're stupid and they're childish and they're violent. Megan's not the one that did the shooting. That's true. Something hurt her. I'm not going to get into all of that. I don't know. We don't hang out with them. We weren't there. If you followed the trial, feel free to enlighten me in the comments. That's okay. I didn't follow it. But what I do understand is this lesson that needs to be known, that needs to be learned, and we cannot overlook it. You're black. You're a male. Confusion and mess gets started, and you're going to be the one left holding the bag because the sisters ain't going to stand up and say he was trying to be a man and break it up or be responsible. They're not going to do that in your case. Because in the end, they're still going to be more mad at you because you were giving them some. Never mind that neither one wants you to be sexually exclusive to her. They still want you to be sexually exclusive, but they don't want you to be sexually exclusive. You know how that goes. Stop it. Start saying no. Start saying no to all these things. Thanks for listening. Black heart, black mind, black out.